again, this mindset call, John, is this is that other monthly call that you get, and in addition to the business strategy call as a part of the coaching platform, because I again, one of the tenets of the things that I believe is that nothing on the outside changes until something on the inside changes. And so when we are having mindset calls, and these calls that we're going to do once a month, we're going to talk about different aspects of mindset, belief, thoughts, energy, vibration, all the things that sort of drive the creation of our reality and what we see and experience as a part of our reality. So this for a lot of people is something that is, so I was raised Southern Baptist, right? So I was raised in the South, raised up in Southern Baptist church. My dad was a Southern Baptist preacher. And so a lot of my perspective on mindset and thought and conditioning your thoughts and creating your reality from thought, while I can tie it into a lot of, and I know you're of a different religion, and but in my little closed-minded Southern Baptist upbringing, I can tie this into a lot of the things that were taught as a part of my religious upbringing. As I got older and I started to think about and question myself to, are Southern Baptists going to be the only ones in heaven? Like like and even as a kid I asked that question because that was the way it was sort of portrayed, is that like everybody else was wrong and Southern Baptists were the only ones that were right. And as I got older and more evolved and started looking at other religions and started understanding that the essence of God, the essence of creation, the essence of whatever it is that makes us who we are and connected to whatever it is that created us, that religion was nothing more than one man's interpretation of that information, right? And then that one man, his interpretation of that information, he finds other people that tend to agree with his interpretation of that information. They start gathering every Sunday or Saturday or Wednesday or Tuesday, and it builds this movement, right? And so all these religions are all our interpretation or an individual perspective of that God essence, that God force, that life force, that creative force that I believe is passed through each and every one of us to make the world around us a better spot. So as I dive into the power of thought and vibration, it really goes against all the things I was raised to believe, because the understanding that we as a human have the ability to create our reality. We have the ability to set our thoughts and our intentions and the direction of where we want to go with our thoughts, energy, and vibration, that we have the ability to create something almost in a godlike sense, was completely sacrilegious in the Southern Baptist culture. Like completely sacrilegious. So for me, this journey that I've been on for a long time, and studying mindset and studying belief and watching and reading and understanding that we truly can um, create for ourselves a reality around our thoughts and our belief system. Man, it is, for me, it's such a wonderfully cool topic, a wonderfully cool thing to discuss. And so that's why I want to bring it into this, because I do believe, John, I do believe that what we think about, what we put emotion behind, that creates a belief, right? And if we believe something and truly believe something where that thought connects to that emotion and that creates that belief, that if we truly believe that, then, to use a Christian biblical Bible verse, the faith the size of a mustard seed can move a mountain, right? And if we truly believe something, that is the epitome of faith. That is the essence of faith. That is the essence of understanding something, believing something is true even though we can't see it. That's the essence of faith, right? That's the essence of this. And so today we're going to talk about the power of thought and vibration, and talk about the law of attraction. And in that law of attraction, made popular by a book called The Secret, made popular by a couple of people who really dove, you know, the Napoleon Hill book,
I've met what do you call it? Abraham, or not
Esther.
Abraham, but Esther.
Yeah.
My wife was a devotee to them, and so I've been to a number of their, even back when Jerry was there,
Yep.
and have seen her live, and my wife has been on a cruise with them, so I'm way down
Intimately
with this,
familiar.
intimately familiar with with Abraham Hicks, their teachings, the law of attraction, the secret. It's so funny when you Google in in Nashville. I remember Googling the secret, and all of you have to go to like the third page where you find actually the secret. Everything else you get up before that is the demonic teachings of the secret,
Yep.
right? It like literally tries to calibrate it as anti-Christian.
Yep.
Like literally, you can't get to the real teachings here in Nashville. So funny.
So so
I don't see if it's still that way.
well, it probably still is that way. And strangely enough, so I started implementing these teachings and started implementing this um, back when we had our real estate company in Georgia. And I remember I had a girl leave our company because she said what we were teaching was sacrilegious
Yeah.
and what we were teaching was demonic. And she left. Um, so funny, another kind of so back up a little further in 2008, I remember when I was working another sales job and a guy that I worked with, his wife had just been introduced to Esther Hicks, had just been introduced to vibration and energy in these teachings, and she was actually going to Houston to go to an event where she was going to talk about energy and vibration and all the things associated with that. So it's cool that you kind of got a background in this. So this may be something that you may know about more about this than I do.
Well,
And
I'm
but that's
all
okay.
about vibration, and in fact, I spent a year at the Sound Healing Institute in San Francisco, heading up marketing and sales, and conference production. So we produce the global. It's called Globe Institute, the Sound Healing Conference. So it's all about using frequency and vibration, and it's incredible, the the medical uh, the medical capabilities of using sound as a healing mechanism,
Yep.
right? Just like it's incredible.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
so I might let you teach this class. I may just let you. I may let you take over and do this session, because you've got a different perspective, and it's funny that I've never tried to Google the secret in Tennessee, but it kind of
I just
goes.
did it looks like it comes up, so it was, I was trying to show it to somebody. This was probably 8 years ago, and there's a lot of garbage that comes up right now, but you can still get to the secret really right out of the gate. So, oh, that's because I'm using Brave.
Oh, you have another one. There you go.
No, if
There
I
you go.
yeah, Brave is a different. So if I look it up on Google, that's the one I bet that it's going to come across. Let's see, the secret, the secret by Rhonda Byrne. Oh, it's just coming up. Okay. Oh, I'm on DuckDuckGo. Wow, that's because I don't have.
You got
I'm
like
not
three or
using.
four different layers of
I'm not. Yeah, I'm
search.
not using Chrome. That's why.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about three things like thoughts as a creative force. We're gonna talk about emotional vibration and attraction, and then affirmations and reprogramming the subconscious mind. So those are three of the things we're gonna talk about. Again, this call is recorded, and so I'm gonna share this in the group and share this in the community so that people can go back and watch this in a minute. 'Cause this truly is what I believe is. I mean, I do believe this. I think this is sort of the key to getting past some of our own personal hurdles, some of our own personal stories, some of the things that we tell about ourselves, some of the stories we tell ourselves, some of the stories we have taken on to be true and they may not necessarily be true, but we have created truth out of them. So let's talk about this thing, thoughts as a creative force. Again, I'm not going to tell you anything probably that you haven't already heard or that you don't know. Thoughts are energy. It's funny that we're having this conversation today, coming off I got to watch my son have an EEG yesterday. right?
Mm.
So I got to watch my son get wired up to 23 wires, be attached to a computer where they monitored his brain function. They monitored the electrical energy of his brain, trying to find if there was some malformity in the electrical responses in his brain. So I watched as they added additional stimuli to his eyes with flashing lights and made him exert himself in his oxygen levels, made him take a nap, made him stay awake to see all the different electrical charges in his brain and to watch how all that took place, right? So if your thoughts can truly be measured, if your brain activity can truly be measured or be measured by electrical function, then it would just seem to make sense that that electricity that's in your brain would produce some type of energy, right?
Sure.
Because if you get something close enough to an electrical outlet that conducts electricity, you're soon going to find out that that electricity in that outlet or that electricity wherever is going to express itself through whatever conductive instruments you have in your hand, right?
Sure.
You stick your finger in the light socket, you're going to feel that energy out of that electricity. And so neuroscience, and over the last what, 5, 10 years probably, neuroscience has completely changed. I mean, it's the whole neuroscience, um, I was going to say industry, it's probably not the right word, but that entire segment of science has been completely flipped up on its ear. Because for you forever, there was this thought that once you reached a certain age, that your brain was just done. There was no more evolution. There was no more growth in your brain. That once you reach 30, 35 years old, that your brain has done all it's going to do. That all the synapses and the neurons and all the things in your brain that make up your brain, that it just is what it is. And then you had to figure out how to live with whatever you had created. But now we know that there's this neuroplasticity, right? We know now that your brain grows and evolves and changes, that you have neural pathways and neural conditioning, and you have certain things that you have created as habits and sort of easier paths, and then there are other things that it takes you longer to figure out. It's harder to do because you don't have those pathways created. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
So you're
This is
tracking, you know all this.
I'm very deep into brainwave entrainment,
Yep.
utilizing binaural beats to entrain the four major brain states, and then there's two additional others that Tibetan masters can get to, epsilon is and gamma. Those are above the four major ones. But yeah, that was it was a huge part of healing for me, getting off of pharmaceuticals.
I want so
Yeah.
walk me through. I want you now, since you are again, you're looking at this from a different religious perspective, a different anecdotal perspective, a different experiential perspective. So share with me kind of your experience with this neuroplasticity, how you create new pathways, how you change things in your life just based on your thought patterns.
All right. So I had uh, a number of years ago, my father passed away, and at the time I was struggling at work and struggling with just with learning. And
Right.
as it turned out, I've always had ADHD. However, I was never officially, diagnosed with it, but almost everyone knew that I had it. And at the time, I, I got to a place where I was taking Adderall, and
Okay.
I wanted to get off of the Adderall. And what I what I figured is that at one point I got off of it because it became very difficult to get. Where at one point it got all conflated in with the opioid crisis, and so doctors started locking it down, and I got into a situation where there were uh, they were reducing my dose. The administrator for the insurance company was reducing the dose just based on their own, without my doctor's permission.
Okay.
And then it got to a point where they went from allowing you to basically have it on a on a monthly where you just go and pick it up, to where you had to actually go back to my doctor, which meant making an appointment, paying a copay, and getting a hand prescription, and then having to take that to a pharmacy and have them fill it. And quite often they didn't have the the dose, the size of the pill that I
Right.
was looking for. And because of all the regulations, they weren't allowed to call around and find another pharmacy that had that dose. And so I got it to a place where I was constantly unable to fill my prescription because of just the regulations and
Right.
requirements that these were all new, right? So they were locking it down. And then I got my doctor's funny thing. I got to him and I said, "Hey, I misplaced my prescription that you gave me on Friday, and it's Monday." And he wouldn't. He said, "Well, you need you to file a police report, even though this is
Oh
the
wow.
first time it's ever happened." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And so I ended up just, take a deep breath. And so I got a police report, and then I sent it over to him. And he goes, "No, you got to get it signed by a cop, like literally go and have a random cop sign it." And when he did that, I basically just, I said, "No, I'm going to quit cold turkey now.
Right.
Now that I can't put myself in this situation." So when I quit cold turkey, fortunately at the time I was working at the Sound Healing Center,
Okay.
and so I was like a mess for 2 or 3 days, like truly a mess, just because when your body comes off of that. And um, what I ended up doing was doing an immersive, what's called we had these sound healing lounges, and I immersed myself in frequency and found my home note, which, one of the 12 musical notes, everyone is sort of is identified. It's like your actual home note. And when I found my home note, I started listening to binaural beats in my home note, and I was able to uh, essentially reprogram my brain, where I was able to affect my body in the same way that pharmaceuticals did with sound.
Huh.
And within a week and a half to 2 weeks of listening to binaural beats every day, I was able to get completely off of Adderall. Haven't had any, and this, I guess it's been about 6 years now. And my, I actually occasionally will use sound frequencies when I meditate, and when I'm, if I get all anxious or get, something happens, and you
Right.
get, your pattern gets broken, I can easily use binaural beats to get back into calm and in my calm state. So I don't know if that helps anything,
No,
but
it does. And
I highly recommend investigating brainwave entrainment as a way of putting yourself in the right headspace, especially when you're doing your affirmations in the morning. I quite often will listen to alpha wave while I'm doing that.
I'm super interested in this because I listen to things that like when I go to bed, just so I can get in a different brain state.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's alpha, beta, delta, but I try to get that theta.
Delta is the sleep one. So you
The
listen to
one right is it theta that's right before delta? Like your
theta is the dream state, right? And
yeah.
so right, at the doorway between theta and delta, that's the hypnagogic state.
Yep.
And that's the state that's kind of like the threshold of when you get into astral projection and out of body experiences. So if you're familiar with the Monroe Institute, where that's a big part of their. You familiar with the Monroe
I've
Institute by any
heard
chance?
that. I just don't know if I've ever studied
Okay,
that. I've seen
so
that at
so
all.
Robert Monroe, what he in the 70s, he did this. He developed it with this, basically the CIA, and they utilized it as a mechanism. They invented a concept, and it turns out it's binaural beats, but the hemisync, where you listen to uh, binaural beats, and then it syncs your hemispheres. And when your hemispheres are synced, that's when you can have the the various internal experiences, and that's where they teach you how to have what's called an out of body experience. And this is really
Interesting.
out there stuff, and it's a, when you start to go down this path, it's very, very interesting. But there's a concept that and this is essentially what's known as the rainbow light body in Tibetan Buddhism, where you're able to leave your body as a spirit, and you can do that through right at that the theta. It's called the theta doorstep, but it's essentially right at that between delta and theta is where you can put yourself in that position, and it's really a great place to go and get creative. Like when you need creative energy, theta is the state, the brainwave state that you want to be in when you want to come up with new and answers to problems or challenges. and
Yeah,
then and then when you want to get to what's called that meta view, or the state where everything is okay, you see all the bad stuff you have in your world, but you see all the good stuff together, and
right.
that's beta state, right? And so each one of these builds on it. So you have delta, theta, alpha, and beta. And alpha is the flow state. That's the state that they train you when you're in the military to be able to get to alpha state. So they literally, the trigger won't work on your on your weapon until you're actually in the flow state. And it's where
Interesting.
athletes
Yep.
reside. and
Well,
and
so that's one of the things I was going to talk about. So obviously, I'm speaking your language. You're speaking my language. So this neuroplasticity that we have, right? That if we are setting ourselves in those moments, either through the binaural beats or through meditation or through affirmations or through just at the basic level thinking different thoughts, right? Because now what you're talking about is like if thoughts are like having the food chewed up and put in your mouth, right?
mm-hmm,
Creating beliefs tied to emotion, that's a little more advanced. When you start getting into binaural beats and alpha and theta and all these brain waves and the things that you're talking about, that is a lot more advanced, right? That is a lot further down that pathway than just, hey, we're gonna think different thoughts. Because I remember when I first started doing these exercises, it was mind over matter, right?
right.
And that's what you always heard. And so it's funny that I sort of I do this with my son now, but if we can if we in this mind over matter thing to get to this point, because if we consistently think about success, if we consistently think about successful closings, having money in the bank, having good relationships, and these are our thoughts in our purest moments, right? In our purest thought moments, in those moments where we're not trying to grind out some ego-based thought, but we're truly having this connected thought to the creator. We're having this connected moment where either through meditation or affirmation or in some state that we are expressing this, and thought really is our human, that's our best word for what we're trying to create, right? This thing that we want. But when we start to have enough thoughts in that direction, we begin to change our filters, right? We begin to change the filters that we view the world through. As we continually have these thoughts, and I'll just be, being perfectly honest with you, life for you as well. There are certain things in life right now, in the reality that we are experiencing, the day to day right now, as I touch my palm, as I pinch my cheeks, and I look around at what I have around me, there are struggles, there are challenges, there are things that I'm experiencing right now that I would rather not be experiencing, right?
Sure.
And so the challenge is, how do I get from allowing this to compile more thoughts of challenge? How do I separate myself from this reality to then create another reality where I'm not allowing this reality to create additional thoughts, to create additional challenges, to create additional struggles, right? Because at the end of the day, I want my reality, my opportunities, the things that I see, this filter that I create, I want the things on the other side of that filter to be attracted to me that I want. I don't want challenges, right? I want to be free from challenges. However, we all know, and you know this, every challenge brings with it the requisite opportunity of something good to happen. That everything negative has with it the other side of that, which is what we do want.
Right.
And many times in our very humanistic basic thought patterns, The only way to get us to think about the thing that's really, really good is to give us something really, really bad,
As above, so below.
right? If
Yeah.
it weren't for the dark, we wouldn't know what light was.
Right.
If it weren't for the heavy, we wouldn't know we wouldn't know what light was, right? If it weren't for the bad, we probably wouldn't have any perspective of what's good, right?
Correct.
So to that to the athlete point, when I try to get my son to think this, there are things that he does as a young athlete where I'm like, dude, you just got to power through it. You're just going to think a little bit differently through this. If you focus on how bad it hurts, the hurt gets worse, right? If you focus on just what the goal you're trying to accomplish, focus on the end of the exercise, focusing on finishing that shift, focus on making that shot, focus on something completely different than any pain at all. Focus on how your blades feel on the ice. The hurt goes away,
Right.
right? So to back up and get a little less little shallower in the pool, talking about thoughts and visualization and the visualization techniques that athletes use to create better performance, to create better outcomes. Jack Nicklaus always he says, and he said this in his book. Tiger Woods used this same thing. Jack Nicklaus always said, "I never hit a golf shot on the golf course until I hit it in my mind." So every single shot he ever took, he visualized the ball flight, visualized his swing path, visualized what it was going to feel like at impact. He did all that in his mind prior to actually doing it, so that when he actually went through the physical exercise, he'd already done it. So it wasn't stressful. It gets you into that alpha state where you're just reacting. It's just a matter of reacting now. I'm not having to think about
Right.
that action,
Right. The flow state.
right?
Right.
And in
Yeah.
that flow state, that's where we operate at our highest and best. When we're connected to source energy, when we're connected to God, connected to who we were created to be, then we're not worried about outcomes. We're not worried about all the A through B, the one, two, three, four. What do I need to say? How do I need to say it? How many people do I need to call? We just go. We just go and we let the outcomes be what the outcomes are going to be. So, in this thoughts as a creative force for you in this stage of your business, there's so many things you're really, really good at right now with using your thoughts, with using your energy, understanding vibration, understanding how you can create the reality. There's so many things that you're really, really good at and you're super comfortable doing. Like there are things you've accomplished, things that you've overcome using this process. And then there are other things that you're still struggling with. There are other things in your life right now when I have conversations, and it's the same thing for me as it is for you. So I'm not picking on you. I could say this to anybody that would come on this call that I coach with. There are things that are harder for us to move with our thoughts and our energy and our vibration because we've set up barriers, we've set up obstacles, we've set up hurdles, we've set up challenges that we just have to get through the same way you got through the other thing. The
Right.
same thing you've got through the other stuff, you gotta do the same thing with this. Because again, at the end of the day, you take out the challenge of a pharmaceutical addiction or want or need, replace that with a real estate want or need. At the end of the day, the want or need is the same, right? It's the outcome in not needing or wanting that anymore because we just accomplish it, we just overcome it, we just let it be. That's the same outcome we want, whether it's a real estate transaction or not having to go get Adderall anymore. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So in this, I want you to try to, as you do your affirmations, as you do what you do on a daily basis, I want you to work through the process of visualizing a successful real estate deal. Visualize what it's going to look like. I promise you, I do this right now. When I do visioneering, especially when I have a listing, I visualize the listing with a sold sign on it. I visualize my sign in the front yard with a sold sign on it. I visualize sitting at the table with the client. I actually see them in my mind's eye. I visualize them in my mind's eye, and I visualize their smile on their face as they're signing their paperwork. I visualize getting a hug from one of the clients because they're so appreciative of how I've helped them sell their house. I visualize shaking their hand at the closing table. I'm telling you, I do this because I believe there's power in that visualization. I believe there's power in our thoughts and the energy that we send out, and it attracts that success to us.
I mean, that's classic law of attraction. It's also I sent you a couple texts. I mentioned the Monroe Institute.
Yep.
One of the things that they developed at the Monroe Institute, it was a declassified uh, memo that the CIA wrote that they declassified it in the early 2000s, but it's called the Gateway Process.
Okay.
And you should take a look at and read that later because everything you're talking about, they've actually, I mean, it's been documented, and you're going to find it outrageous that you've never seen this document before. And you're also going to see that the CIA was the author of this, but it's
Well,
essentially describing the technical process that happens during this visualization and uh, entrainment when you're in that zone, right? The flow
yep.
state of getting into the various brainwave states. It's really fascinating. I'm excited for you to check it out tonight.
Well, I'm super down with that, and you don't see my tinfoil hat because my tinfoil hat's on the shelf over there.
Okay.
Um, but I am convinced that this well, I'm not gonna, the CIA funded Facebook. I'm just gonna tell you right now, the
Well, I know all
CIA
about
funded
that.
Facebook.
I
Yep.
know all about that.
Okay, there
It
you go.
was
So,
LifeLog, and it was a cyber diet program. Yeah, and so same thing with Google.
oh
Google
yeah,
was originally funded by the CIA. In fact, I know the guy that was the venture partner that was head of InQtel because he funded my buddy's company in California, but that's the CIA's operational venture capital firm, and they gave the two Google guys $1 million. They were the first money in to basically start um, their PhD project. So
yep,
from the very beginning, the CIA was the funder of both Facebook and Google,
yep.
and not to mention, probably Rumble as well.
I don't know about that one. I'll check that out. But I'm excited to read those two things. I'm
Yeah.
excited
Okay.
to read
Cool.
that. So, so kind of, and then so to our second point, the emotional vibration and attraction. We've kind of talked about this some already. But emotions are a vibrational frequency, right? It's been proven over and over and over again that they can measure your emotion with vibrational frequency. And it's just,
Hmm.
and when you walk into a room, right? You walk into a room and you know there are people you want to be around and there are people that you don't want to be around, and you avoid the people you don't want to be around and you hang out with the people that you do want to be around, and more times than not that's just a function of the vibration. That's a function of the energy that they're putting off and the vibration from the mood or the person that they are. And so this high vibration, the joy, the gratitude, the love, all of that attracts more of it. You know this, like attracts like, birds of a feather flock together. That which it is attracts more of itself to itself, right? So we understand that we attract like energy to ourselves. And so when we are in a joyous um a state of gratitude, we're in a state of love, we typically attract those things to us. We attract those like things to us. When we're down, when we're low, when we have fear, doubt, and anger, not only do we attract those same kind of people to us for in all kinds of different situations and all kinds of different circumstances, but most of the time we attract situations that enhance that same mood that we're in, right?
Right.
So choosing those positive thoughts, choosing those positive vibrations, that's why gratitude is so important. I'm sure you get this. That's why gratitude journals are so important and making a part of your daily routine and your morning routine, finding even the most inconsequential things to be grateful for. And because it's in gratitude, that gratitude is a higher level of vibration. That's a higher level of energy. It's a more evolved level of energy and vibration. And that when we are able to exert strong enough energy in a directed location, um, we can actually influence matter. So now that and you know this, Joe Dispenza is a guy that I listen to all the time, and
Oh
and
yeah.
studies in quantum physics suggest that energy now influences matter, that we have the ability to influence matter. I read a book called The Intention Experiment, and it's a really long book with really small font, and it took me forever to get through it. But it was a collection of experiments that have been done from the 1800s to now of intention and intentional processes and how thoughts and energy can affect matter. It's a unbelievably fantastically cool book. Um, but keeping in mind that our emotions emit frequency that impact our environment, that our emotions influence the outcomes and the experiences that we have. So we have to always be aware of, and this is Esther Hicks's big thing and Abraham's thing, is that our emotions are the gauge, right? Whether we are in alignment with our true self or out of alignment with our true self. When we are emotionally available, when we're emotionally unavailable, and when we are emotionally aligned with who it is we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So
What you're talking about, are you familiar with the documentary called The Secret of Water?
I know, but I have studied water. From a very basic studying of water, I know how emotions and energy affects the molecular structure of water.
So yeah, there's a Japanese guy. He's
Yep.
passed away now that did all of these studies on consciousness and how consciousness can affect the crystallization of water.
Yep.
And and yeah, so if you watch that documentary, it goes through deep into what you're talking about. Same thing. I through the the Globe Institute, the Sound Healing Center, I connected up with the experts, in the world on cymatics, right? And cymatics is the study of sound and how it affects
Okay.
matter,
Okay.
right? So you've seen those sands on a plate where you run the
Yes.
and it creates a designs and such in the sand. So when you run different frequencies, all of a sudden the sand goes and creates those different frequencies.
Right.
So it's essentially shows you how powerful sound in or is into the formation of matter. So it's essentially the same. It's kind of what you're talking about. The vibrational intensity of your thoughts actually can impact matter in that way.
So help me. So because you've studied this and you've been more deeply in tune with this. Sound is nothing more than vibration, right?
Well, yeah, frequency is
Frequency and
creates sound.
vibration.
Yeah, and frequency is how you measure sound,
Okay.
and it's essentially the vibe. They say everything is always in motion. So
Right.
matter is always in motion. And when you watch that documentary, it shows you how, like when they were putting cymatics in the water, when they put flour in the water, they could actually see how the matter was actually creating three-dimensional structures, not just wave patterns,
Yeah.
but the matter was actually forming three-dimensional structures based on the sound frequency that was bean broadcast to it.
Man, I
So
wish there were more people to hear this conversation. I really, really, but I'm glad it's recorded because I want to make sure that I post this. So, one of the actionable tips that I kind of looked at was using going back to our emotional vibration and attraction and thinking about that very thing that you just said is that that vibration of sound, that vibration of energy that creates the sound measured by frequency, right?
mhm.
The sounds that we hear are nothing more than the vibration that our eardrums have at certain frequencies, right? And that's what makes the sound. Our brain recognizes whatever those vibrations are and then equates that into whatever beneficial, artificial, detrimental, or wonderful sound that we hear, right? Or to what you said, what would you call it? Your tone,
Oh, my home note.
your home note. So understanding that we all have this internal calibration. And I believe, dude, I'm telling you, I've said
That's
this before I even got into this. I believe that and the tuning fork was always my example,
hmm
that 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 we were all created, right, with this special unique purpose. And that this life is nothing more than our journey using that tuning fork of our soul to find that place where it resonates with our creation, with what we were created to be. And then as soon as we find what resonates with what we were created to be, we'll call that purpose. We'll call that calling, whatever you want to call that. But as soon as we're attached and that tuning fork goes off and that vibration is where it doesn't do this anymore, it's just like this. It's one solid line of frequency, right? Because we're connected to the creator, that's how we affect the world around us. And I believe if every one of us could connect to that and who we were created to be, man, the effect we'd have on the world around us would be immeasurable. You wouldn't
Yep.
be able, it'd be unreal what we would be able to do.
So I just sent you another text. This it's the guy that really is a foremost expert on that. It's a Center for Acoustic Research. He's in Orange County, Dr. Jeffrey Thompson. But he's got a whole body of content that's all about how to measure your home note. When you find out your home note, you can literally fine tune the binaural beats and the frequencies that will bring you to, like for medical healing. What's so amazing was we had these things called the vibroacoustic sound lounges, and they were gel beds that you basically laid in, and we could put vibrational frequencies through the bed, so it literally vibrated your body, and it can heal like for athletic, what was it called it when like you're an athlete and you're trying to
Just
to
trying to
heal
recover.
recovery, right? So you could use vibrational acoustic sound for recovery. You can use it for like if you have particular issues with cancers or other kinds of issues. Like the medical power of sound is. You think cannabis has been repressed by the establishment because of its healing properties?
Right.
Nothing like sound. Sound has been the natural healing property since the days of the Egyptians, right? So basically, sound healing is probably the greatest threat to the pharmaceutical industry, and that's why it's completely repressed. Like
Well,
you, literally, it's amazing the power of sound.
I know what I'm doing the rest of the night. I'll be researching this the rest of the night. This is where I'll be all night long tonight. Um, so let's talk about this last little thing before we move on to the
Sure,
third point.
sure,
Um, so the emotional vibration and attraction again. So learning how to emotionally pivot, I think is super super important. Learning how to not think about the pink elephant, right? Just because if I tell you don't think about a pink elephant, you're obviously going to think about the pink elephant. And so because you understand the secret, you understand the law of attraction, you understand that do's and don'ts really don't they really don't have any meaning when you're sending these things out into the universe. When you're sending these things out to your creator, the do's and the don'ts really don't matter. It's the essence of what it is that you're thinking about that matters, right?
right,
And so in that, learning how to emotionally pivot, learning how to anchor some specific emotion. I've got one. Well, my emotional anchor. I went on a cruise. We were in Mexico and we went to this resort when we got off the cruise ship, laid in a hammock out by the ocean, and that's my emotional anchor. Whenever anything's going crazy in my life, I go back to that moment because I made sure in that moment because I felt it was one of the most perfect moments I'd ever had in life. Being on the beach in that hammock at the ocean, hearing the breeze, I can take myself back to it right now. So, not that I'm perfect at it, but I have learned to emotionally pivot when things are going bad, when everybody's saying no, when nobody's answering the phone, when it feels like everything that I'm doing is not working, and I start going down that trail. That's the part I gotta stop, right?
right,
I can't think about all of the things that aren't working. I can't think about all the things that are going wrong. I have to emotionally pivot over here to being in the hammock, seeing my feet, seeing the ocean, hearing the birds, feeling the breeze, and emotionally just take myself to a new spot.
right.
Okay.
Break that pattern, right?
So learning how to emotionally pivot. All right. And then the last thing really, really quickly, and we kind of talked about this some, but obviously you understand this is this conscious and the subconscious mind, using affirmations to reprogram the subconscious mind, replacing those limiting beliefs, that limiting story, that ego story, the thing that we have created ourselves to, this shell that we create around who we actually are, right? So that we get so we are accepted by other people. Because at the end of the day, as human beings, frail, fragile human beings on this earth, our ultimate goal is to be accepted. When it all is said and done, we just don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. And so, if we can be accepted, then we're included in the tribe. And when we're included in the tribe, there's a requisite feeling of safety. And when we had this feeling of safety, we were protected from saber-toothed tigers and the elephants and all the other things that try to kill us when they don't try to kill us. But we still had that very reptilian thought pattern, brain function where we want to be accepted by the tribe. We don't want to be kicked out and ostracized to be by ourselves because we have this this deathly fear of being alone. Right.
Right.
So the affirmations that we're gonna that I know you use, that the affirmations that you're going to that I teach, the affirmations that are part of this coaching program is a part of your morning routine that I teach everybody. The subconscious drives 95% of your behavior, right? The things you don't see drive 95% of your behavior. So I'll tell you, this is pretty funny. I heard this guy the other day talking about if you want to create a new neural pathway, here's what he said do. He said, brush your teeth for 30 days with your left hand. If you're right-handed, brush your teeth with your opposite hand.
Hmm.
Brush your teeth with your opposite hand for 30 days. And then he also said in the mirror, look at yourself in your left pupil and tell yourself you love yourself 10 times. So brush your teeth left-handed if you're right-handed, brush your teeth right-handed if you're left-handed. Look in your left eye, tell yourself you love yourself 10 times and do that for 30 days and watch what happens. He said you will create a different neural pathway and be
Yeah.
able to have some plasticity and be able to do some different things. Because especially because I'm running up into all kinds of, I'll just be honest, there are all kind of things I'm running up against that are the same patterns, the same things that I run up against all the time. And so I'm really working on creating these new neural pathways, really creating these new subconscious thoughts, right? That you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello, hello? John, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All
Okay,
good.
good. All right,
Sorry.
okay. Um so again, understanding the subconscious drives our behavior, and we can talk about this more because we've already been on here about an hour. But we obviously, I'm not saying anything to you that you don't understand, and the tasks, the effort that it takes to reprogram our subconscious, right? It's not easy. Your subconscious creates the habits, right? Your subconscious creates the thoughts that you have, the behaviors that you have. So you can literally cut out parts of your day just in habitual behaviors. You can cut out so many different bits of information coming into your brain with your subconscious through habitual behaviors. The unfortunate thing is a lot of us have created habitual behaviors that don't benefit us. They don't serve us very well,
Right.
right? So then in this last thing, um, in part of that, the affirmation process and part of your that I'm going to start integrating the affirmations or the meditation with the beats and the binaurals, the getting back to your home note and all those things, understanding that it takes time, right? To create a new habit. That's why brushing your teeth left-handed is pretty cool to me because it feels so super crazy. Like literally, I can't even be, I've done it for 5 days in a row. And every single day when I start, I feel like I've never done it before in my life. And my right hand wants to come in and take over. Like it's like automatic, it wants to come in and take
Sure.
over.
Sure.
And what's been so funny is I understand now that's exactly what our ego does. That's exactly what our subconscious does. We've created these habitual patterns, these habitual thought patterns that aren't serving us, that keep us walking around the same bush over and over and over again, that keep us bumping up against that same barrier, that same wall, that same ceiling that we've never been able to crush through or break through or get to that next spot we want to get. I think it's all a result of that same thing. My right hand want to take the toothbrush out of my left hand, right? It's that same exact thing because we'll get going and we'll feel really, really good. And then all of a sudden that you'll take the right hand will take the toothbrush out of the left hand.
When you don't even think about it. Right.
And we're right back in the same damn spot again.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about coaching. I hope that I'm able to do is maybe I'm just able to provide a different voice, a different perspective, a different thing so that it bumps up against that subconscious thought that you have. It bumps up against that pattern of behavior that you have. It bumps up against that story that you tell yourself, and you at least hear my words saying something different than that story is saying. and that you maybe don't go down that story path again and maybe try another path. You might brush your teeth with your left hand another couple of days. Maybe you make it 30 days. Maybe it becomes a new pattern. Maybe you're ambidextrous with your toothbrush now. And what's so crazy, John? I can throw a baseball right-handed. I can throw a baseball left-handed. I can do both hands. When I was a
Oh,
kid, I could switch it. I could hit left-handed and I could hit right-handed. Right?
right.
I play basketball left-handed. I throw a football left-handed, but I actually throw a baseball right-handed. My natural batting style is left-handed, but I play golf right-handed.
Hmm.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
but brushing my teeth left-handed feels like I'm walking with my hands. It is nuts. It is nuts. So I know there's something to it. I know there's something to it, and I'm gonna stick with it as awkward and crazy as it feels. I'm gonna stick with it. But so here's the last thing I'll leave you. In your affirmations, okay? For so long, I just did affirmations for the point of doing affirmations. Just I would read the words would be given to me. I had an app that would give me 12 affirmations. Those 12 affirmations would go for 21 days, and it would give me 12 more for another 21 days, and it just went on forever and ever and ever, which I thought was pretty cool at the time. But now that I've kind of evolved a little bit, and I understand that it's only when our emotions are tied to the thoughts, it's only when the emotions are tied to the affirmation, is that affirmation really moving the needle at all, right? Otherwise, I'm just going through the motions. Otherwise, I'm just brushing my teeth, you know, completely unawares with my right hand and not thinking about it at all because I've done it so many times in 52 years, right? So
Right.
this is the last thing. I want you to obviously do affirmations. I want you to meditate. I want you to do your affirmations. I want you to speak nicely to yourself. I want you to tell yourself that you love yourself 10 times every single day. Okay. But I
Right.
want you to, your affirmations, I'm a powerful real estate leader. I attract clients easily and effortlessly. Okay. That needs to be one of your affirmations. I am a real estate leader. I attract clients easily and effortlessly. And I want there to be some emotion behind that. And the more you say it, the more emotion you put behind it, I promise you, you're going to be a real estate leader that attracts clients easily and effortlessly. And then your business is going to look like the businesses that you want it to look like. Then your real estate business becomes easy. Then it becomes you can push the gas or let off the gas and make it be whatever you want it to be, or make it be as little as you want it to be. Okay.
That's awesome.
The encouragement, I'm going to say this as well. Um, I used to do this a lot. I don't do it anymore. I'm falling out of this habit. When I look at you and I look at you in the eye and I say things to you, you know there's a connection, right? You feel it. I
Sure.
look at you in the eye, you look at me in the eye, and there's a connection. You feel that energy that I'm giving you, and it resonates and you go, hey, I like that, right?
Right.
The problem is, the problem is we don't do that with ourselves. You're with yourself every day, all the time, right?
Right.
And you're having conversations. If you're like me, if you're anything like me, or probably the rest of the world, you're having conversations with yourself, at least in your mind, pretty much all day long. Me, and I'm just being real transparent and honest, most of the things that I tell myself about myself aren't very good. And I'm very super critical of myself to myself. Okay. Affirmations are a way to sort of offset that. Affirmations are a way where we say really cool things about ourselves in the present. I am a real estate leader who attracts clients effortlessly and easily, right?
Right.
If you can start just like you say, I love you in the mirror, that sounds so super crazy to tell yourself you love yourself, but you're looking at yourself in the mirror. You're going to resonate with that vibration. It's going to be weird at first, but ultimately, you're going to understand, man, I love myself. I love you, man. I appreciate you. And you're saying it to yourself in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I want to encourage you as you start to evolve in your affirmations, as you start to evolve in this structure of your business, and again, nothing changes on the outside until something on the inside changes. But as you begin to evolve in this, I want you to say your affirmations to yourself in front of yourself in a mirror every single day. Because I promise you, you're going to see it in your eye. You're going to visualize yourself saying it. So now you hear it, you see it, you're saying it, and you're feeling it. Now the feeling's going to come later down the road, but you've got about four different dimensions, five different dimensions, right? That you're putting those words in who you are. And those words get into your subconscious, dude, it absolutely attracts those things to you. And I
Right.
promise you right now, John, I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So when I talk about I love you, man, when I tell myself I love myself, I'm going to say I am a real estate leader and I attract clients effortlessly and easily. I'm a world-changing real estate coach and I help people. I'm going to say the same thing and I'm going to say it to myself every single morning because I believe that energy done coming into my subconscious four different ways from four different directions is going to do something internally in me that creates a new vibration, that creates a new energy, that's going to attract like unto itself, that's going to bring that to myself and help me to create the business that I want to create. And I want the same thing for you.
That's awesome. I love it. You got me reignited here. So I appreciate that. You mentioned you listened to Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
How familiar are you with Joe? Have you been to any one of his events?
I've never been to an event. No, it's on my so just so you know, my
Yeah.
big book of goals that I write every single day.
Yeah.
In there is that I'm hanging out with Joe Dispenza. So that's one of the things I want to just I've gotten to hang out with Gary Brecka and it was a life-changing experience.
Okay.
And I want to hang out with Joe Dispenza now.
Joe Dispenza is you talk about, you know, what what's possible there in you know, in remanifesting who you want to be. But that's a super powerful. I've got a good friend that works with him and is one of their I guess he does these big events with, you know,
Yep.
1,000, 2,000 people on the
Yep.
beach in Cancun, and he has about 75 or 100 of these facilitators that actually work with people. But they do some, you know, they practice for several days and almost a week and going into very, very deep states of meditation. And what they are able to do is to put you into what I call the realm. But it's like you reimagine who you want to be, and you actually come out of that weekend as uh, that new person. Right. And it's like you're doing things where you're going into a, you know, the astral field, and you're going to that person that you didn't, you know, that you've been disconnected with, and
Yep.
you're able to reconnect. You kind of go into the field and you fix all your issues, and then you come out completely you know, remanifested.
So a friend
And
of
that's one of
mine,
my things is I want to get with Joe too.
yeah. I'm not joking, man. Look, I have a my book of goals that I write every single day is right here, and it's at the bottom that I'm gonna get to hang out with Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
Like, and
Okay.
that's one of the things that are in there. So, um, actually had there's a title attorney in Nashville. She works at Hollingshead Title. Her name's Kim Hollingshead, um, and and she went to a Joe Dispenza event. So she sent me the Dropbox of all the links for all his meditations and all his stuff. So
Oh, nice.
last year I did his meditation every morning for an entire year. So I did
Okay.
the morning meditation every single morning. I've done like usually 3 or 4 days of a week. I will listen to a Joe Dispenza meditation.
Right.
Um, but no, man, I'm all about some.
Well, he comes to Nashville from time to time,
Yeah, well,
and
I don't
he
know if
does
I could
it
do it in Nashville. I'd rather go to Cancun and do it. I think
right for
I'd
sure.
rather go someplace else and do it. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Well, man, thank you for being here. Thank you for your knowledge. I want to have this
Yeah, thank
conversation with
you.
you some more.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna dive into some of these links that you send me, and I'm gonna.
yeah. There's gonna the gateway process will blow your mind that this has been, you know, studied and developed, and you know it's crazy what's because it really outlines the power of everything we've just
Oh,
discussed.
I'm super excited. I'm telling you, man, I'm fired up. I'm gonna order a pizza and just sit here. I'm gonna do this all night long.
Awesome. All
All right,
right.
brother.
Thanks so much, Aaron. I'll
Yep.
see
Talk
you.
to you in the
Talk to you
morning.
tomorrow. All
Yep.
right. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.